Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Siti Mundini and my partner Septia Disapitri. Okay, in this video we will discuss about the book. The title of the book is Introducing Course Design in English for Specific Purpose. And in this book we choose chapter 8. The title of the chapter is Assessment of English for Specific Purpose. Okay. For the first, let me to share to you what I have learned in this chapter, and the next is will be presented by my partner Septia Disapitri. Okay, in chapter 8, assessment of English for specific purpose, this chapter is addressed the essential element of assessment and evaluation in course design. This includes for formal assessment such as high-stakes EAP tests like TOEFL and IELTS, and business English tests like the Cambridge Business English Certificate. In this chapter also address less formal classroom assessment and includes guidelines for in conducting some more formative types of ESP assessment. The chapter address the following areas. For the first is need for assessment, the second one is purpose of assessment, and the third is type of ESP assessment. And in the type of ESP assessment there are three types. For the first is formal assessment, the second one is high stake testing, and the third is informal assessment. Okay, for the first we will discuss about the course evaluation. Assessment in ESP is very broad term and includes many aspects. Language assessment can be used to identify needs, to place students to groups, to ensure course objectives are met as a learning tool, to monitor progress and exit measure and external entry measure. In principle, ESP assessment is no different from EHP assessment and might include entry test, exit test, and progress test. However, in some form of ESP, for example EOP, there may be no formal assessment. And then the major consideration in assessment is ESP or otherwise is purpose. For example, assessment purpose include evaluating performance on ESP course, diagnosing linguistic weakness, meeting university entry criteria, and fulfilling an immigration requirement. Okay, and the next is assessment relevant to ESP course. In relation, direct testing reflect target linguist use. For example, in EBP, report writing is a common skill that would be on the syllabus. And direct testing, the assessment task would be to write a report. And indirect testing is where assume that performance on assessment tasks can be generalized to target linguist use. In relation to ESP, linguist test designer need to consider the test purpose, test taker characteristic, and the target linguist use situation by Douglas 2013. And the next is common types of assessment in ESP. There are a number of assessment types that are common in both ESP and EHP. That depend on purpose of the assessment and may vary in specificity. One of the central notion in linguist assessment in construct representation or construct validity. Yes, the construct here reflects ESP complete competence, so designer need to articulate what is and how it can be measured. For the first is diagnostic test. Diagnostic tests are used to identify the strength and weakness of the student. They may be used as a part of needs analysis, used to placement, or as a tool to measure progress. And the second one is placement test. Placement test usually reflect a diagnostic procedure with ESP project where more than one group will be studying ESP. Some form of placement tool is required. And the third is entry test. This type of assessment shares some similarities with placement tests. They are used to measure whether a student has the basic proficiency to be able to successfully study in ESP course. And the fourth is exit test. Exit test in similar vein. Exit test assess whether the student has achievement the aims of ESP course or whether they need further study. And the next is achievement and progress test. These are assessments directly related to the ESP course that are used to, as a name suggests, measure progress. The test measure how much the learner has learned during the ESP course. And the next is high stakes test. The demand for education in English-speaking countries has greatly increased in recent years. Pre-sensational training and coaching for English exams is now big business in many countries, and high-stakes proficiency tests such as IELTS and TOEFL are much in demand. And because these tests is so important, teacher and student may perceive that only classroom activity and material relevant to the test are used, and therefore make the primary focus on teaching and learning. In this case, learner will be experience problem when embarking on their academic course because IELTS and TOEFL is not ESP test and do not reflect the target communicative situation of the students. Okay, for the next is Common European Framework of Reference of Linguists, or CEFR. Is useful tool for course designer in the CEFR. This is a series of the description of linguist ability across 6 levels, from the lowest to the highest. The CEFR features in most equivalence and can be useful to course designer. However, as the test often measure different skill and types of linguists, they should be regarded with caution. Okay, I think that's all from me, and the next is will be presented by my partner Septiadi Sapitri. Well, Septiadi Sapitri, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Dini. Now I will explain about assessment method. There is range of method available to course designer when designing assessment tests. Thus, may be formal pen and paper tests, such as multiple choice and short answer tests, which are widely used to test receptive skill, such as reading and listening. However, when assessing productive skill, pen and paper tests are not adequate. With speaking and writing tests, samples of language need to be allocated from the student which then need to be assessed. This can be done by using a rating scale that describes the performance using this descriptor. There are 2 types of rating scale: those that use holistic descriptors and those that use analytical descriptor. In a holistic scale, the overall performance is described, while analytical scale break down the performance into components. Okay, next, like teaching language to assess. ESP ability can be assessed formally or informally. It can be assessed by designing assessment tasks that replicate the target communicative situation. An example of this in EAP could be getting students to take notes from a lecture, or in ABP asking students to give an oral presentation. There are many ways of assessing general language proficiency. Usually some form of test or assessment task is given to the student and their performance is measured based on a framework. This normally consists of a list of descriptors which students either have achieved or not. The best known such framework is the Common European Framework, is discussed above. This framework is a useful starting point for course designer because the levels are universally understood. Okay, next the ESP practitioner as assessor. In large-scale language institution, reliable, validated tests are more likely to be used. Such tests called the commercial test, such as the Cambridge Business English Certificate, or BEC, or IELTS, or specific tests developed in-house. The test development procedure is an interactive process, very much like the process of course design itself. Recommend the following step in EAP test develop: determining test purpose, defining objective, creating test plan or the specification, rating item, reviewing and receiving item, assembling a complete test, pilot testing, statistical analysis, creating a plan for administration, scoring and score reporting, and ongoing monitoring of the best. Okay, next, a formative and summative assessment. Course designer need to consider the role of assessment in the course. Summative assessment refers to the type of assessment tasks used to assess whether a student has achieved the aim of the course or not. It provides a snapshot of learning achievement. Such tests would include exit tests and progress and achievement tests. An example of a summative assessment is a language test used to provide information to stakeholders. However, such a test doesn't help to learn improve. Formative assessment, on the other hand, is designed to facilitate learning. Okay, and the feedback. Within the field of assessment, feedback is a very important aspect of teaching and learning. Feedback can come from the teacher or from classmates. The type of feedback in the assessment process needs to be considered carefully and be in the line with stakeholders. Expectation. Feedback on the productive skill of speaking and writing is particularly important as success, and thus skill here is not as readily measurable as in reading and listening. In writing, feedback is able to facilitate writing as process because it promote draft of writing. Peer review is particularly important to discuss the in as it takes pressure of the teacher to provide feedback on multiple drafts. Okay, next, evaluation. Course evaluation is an essential part of the course design circle. Course evaluation provides reflection on the effectiveness and relevance of the ESP course and identifies what needs to be improved Evaluation data should be obtained from all the stakeholders, student, ESP, practitioner, and employer to ensure everyone's needs are being met. This data can be collected as with needs using a variety of methods. Student questionnaire reading regarding their satisfaction concurring the ESP course are widely used. Okay, the conclusion. Assessment occurred at a number of levels of ESP course design from the classroom level, showing lesson items that achieve to the course level, assessing whether the student has attained the required level. Inherent in this is the importance of the assessment purpose. Assessment and evaluation overlap with net analysis in that and they may use similar methodological technique and all contribute to the course design cycle. Okay, maybe that's all I can explain about assessment of English for specific purpose. And thank you Siti Mudini. Stay healthy and stay safe. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.